When I was 23, I was renting my first place when my ex-girlfriend reached out to me. We had dated for a number of months in high school. It's been over 10 years since high school, and I can't remember how long it was. It just went badly because I was a douche and started talking to another girl. Anyway, my ex said she was over what happened when we were teenagers and was willing to give it another shot. So we have a date and then several dates, and things are going really well. A month into our relationship, one night I'm at work on a late shift, and she calls me saying that she had gotten into an argument with her mother. They had gotten into some sort of domestic about something. She got slapped and needed to cool off at my place. I got home and turns out she was moving in. I'm pretty laid back and wanted to help with the rent anyway, so I'm somewhat okay with it. I mean, I was walking into a snake pit, but I didn't know I was going to be in a viper pit. So we lived together for a whopping 2 months when things take a turn. She starts telling me she's insecure about me talking to other girls. It changes to watching porn as well, which didn't work. I have control issues. Start fighting a lot, sometimes all night long. She starts cutting herself, saying it was all my fault, and ends up getting tinnitus. Late night phone calls asking where I am at work and who I'm with. I work late hours at an ambulance service. Things come to a head one night when Crazy X tries to tell me looking at porn is the same as beating her. She starts screaming at me, bringing up all the cutting and the doctor visits, claiming it's all my fault. I get fed up and tell her to move out. This pushes her off the deep end and grabs my handgun that I keep for self-defense, tells me that she's going to kill me then herself. I call the police. She leaves shortly afterwards, after she throws my loaded handgun outside. I think, yay, it's over, but it wasn't yet. So a few days go by, but without incident. Crazy X texted me saying that she needs to give me her house key. I tell her no, to throw it away, but she drives to my house anyway, leaves the key, tapes a note to my door saying I'm mentally ill and that I need help and that she forgives me, blah blah blah. I stopped reading after the I need help part, and she keeps texting and texting asking if I read it, even going as far as blaming her behavior on pregnancy, saying that the baby is mine, but she lost it due to stress. So here I am, years down the road, married with a wonderful 2-year-old hellion, with no regrets of leaving the Crazy X. Let's not meet ever again, Crazy X. So this happened over the span of around a year when I was 15 or 16 years old. I'm now 20, and it's only recently been revealed to me how fucked up the situation really was. I was still living at home at the time, but my sister, who is 7 years older than me, had moved out and was living with her now husband, their high school best friend, and some other dude they met via one of those find a roommate sites. He was kind of the reclusive nerdy type, much preferring to hide in his room watching Star Trek and playing computer games than actually hang out with the roommates. And the only person he ever really seemed to want to be around was his similarly shy and nerdy girlfriend. For a little context to the story, at the time this happened, he was 28 and she was 24. They were both a little weird, but initially seemed entirely harmless. Ease in telling the story, and for saving on characters, the friendly roommate will be FR, weird roommate will be WR, and his weird girlfriend will be WGF. Now my sister and I have never really had the best relationship with our parents, and at this point things were especially rocky. Our mother was dating a guy who was, to put it kindly, an abusive sack of shit who seemingly loathed me and would find any excuse to go off at me. As a result, I spent a lot of time staying over at my sister's place. It was around the time I'd spend a lot of time there with WR and WGF started to get really strange. As I said earlier, the pair of them were always kind of odd. They only ever seemed to want to speak to each other and would even go so far as to ignore anyone else who spoke to them. WGF was worse than WR, for this by a mile. He would at least give you monosyllabic responses most of the time. She had a kind of creepy habit of just blankly staring at you for a couple of seconds, then walking away if you asked her a question or tried to engage in her conversation at all. That isn't the really weird behavior, though. When I would stay over, I'd sleep on a futon in FR's office space, which was on the ground floor. It happened to be next to the downstairs bathroom, which for some reason WGF vastly preferred to be upstairs. She would take long showers in the middle of the night, which is whatever. I'm a pretty heavy sleeper, and she wasn't a shower singer or anything like that, so I generally slept right through them. One night, however, I stayed up mega late doing revision and homework and happened to be awake after she finished our shower. I was too absorbed in my task to really pay attention to anything else, but I definitely noted hearing the shower shut off because that was my indicator to how goddamn late it really was. Approximately 10 minutes later, I looked up from my laptop and there she is. I always kept the door open just a crack because the room tended to get unbearably hot if I didn't, and she was standing there outside the room, butt-ass naked, watching me through the open crack in the door. I said her name and asked if she was okay, which seemingly startled her because she walked away pretty sharpish. I convinced myself that in my over-caffeinated, sleep-deprived state I imagined the whole thing and didn't mention it to anyone. Fast forward around a month, and I head over to my sister's one night to find FR kind of agitated about what he perceives to be a peeping Tom problem. He found fingerprints on the outside of his office window in such a way that would imply someone had been pressing up against the glass and looking in. The blind in his room was slightly too small for the window, so you could see in front of the outside. If you looked through at the sides and the room was on the front of the house and the window was easily accessible from the street, he would become concerned that some random passing pervert had been spying on him while he was having a private moment, so to speak, in his office, or else some potential burglar had been sizing up the joint. The police were called, but as they didn't have any external CCTV at this point, no evidence could be provided, and ultimately not a lot could be done. To combat this escalating further, FR installed both internal and external CCTV on the house. This was installed whilst WR and WGF were away on a holiday, and I guess everyone just forgot to tell them about it. Another couple of months later, I go to my sister's to find WR's room empty and informed that he has moved out. Of course, I asked why, and I was informed simply that he and WGF were a pair of fucking creeps, and the others had collectively decided to kick them out. Apparently, her watching me through the office door was not a one-time incident. The CCTV footage showed that she regularly made a habit of standing and watching me through the cracked door, sometimes for as long as 20 to 30 minutes. I was just usually asleep when she did it. Not only that, but the fingerprints on the window had quite apparently been from WR standing outside and watching me after I'd showered and was hanging out in just a towel, which was a less regular occurrence, but apparently was caught on camera enough times for it to be concerning. As if that wasn't weird enough in and of itself, I was recently hanging out with my sister and her husband and passed comment about how he wishes they had told him the full story at the time so he could have chose to press charges. I asked what he meant by that, and he revealed that not only had they both been secretly watching me, the CCTV also showed that they had messed with food and stuff that I had bought, including clips of him licking all of my apples, her spitting in my orange juice, even dumping regular cow's milk into my lactose-free stuff, which explained why I had a period of feeling really sick from nowhere. To top it all off, apparently when FR barged into the room to confront them about it, he not only found that several t-shirts I thought I'd misplaced elsewhere had been stolen by the two of them and literally hung on their wall. She had done several drawings of me sleeping and writing a poem called Ode to My Name, whose contents I don't know and don't really want to know. Apparently, FR gave them an ultimatum of, you have 2 hours to get the fuck out of this house and never contact Gingerbread Bloke or any of us, or I'm calling the police, and they took the former action. They have never tried to contact me subsequent to this, but I feel sick thinking of what they were potentially planning. My sister's 20-something roommate who watched my teenage self sleep. Let's not meet again.